If we do not change, will we still be relevant, effective, and legitimate 5 to 10 years from now?
Some organizations seem to assume that if we have good intentions and we work hard, that's going to automatically create outcomes. And we know from the evidence that that is not the case. It's really complex to manage significant organizational change. There are many components to it. They're often interdependent. So when change leaders feel overwhelmed at times, I can help them ground in the reality that this is by necessity a complex process.
There is a difference between giving staff a voice, a vote, or a veto. So we say we want to consult our staff or our volunteers, but consulting, sometimes people will think, that means I'm going to have a vote. I'm going to be influencing the decision making. That's not necessarily what leaders mean, right?
I'm in awe of the number of challenges and competing stakeholders, interests, even values or principles that leaders of nonprofits have to balance, have to hold up in the air all at the same time. I find meaning in helping them sort through the complexity and find some habits, behaviors or practices that help them.
Management meetings have a change on the agenda there every time. How do we need to change now? What is changing next, etc.? Change is part of being normal.
I've worked across a wide range of sectors. So I've worked in management consulting companies, I've worked in the United Nations, I've worked with the World Bank, I've worked with international nonprofits, and then I worked accidentally in academia as what I call a pracademic. And now I'm an independent consultant coach and team coach. It's my observation that a lot of people in the nonprofit world tend to come into the sector and stay there. And in my case, I think that cross-sectoral perspective has been useful.
Most senior leaders, and I have worked with leaders in major global NGOs, and they tell me, I always wish I had communicated more.
For me, it's important to have an authentic and open relationship with my clients or my audience, that we both keep being open to new information, listening closely, willing to challenge our own assumptions, be trusting with each other, and be willing to be vulnerable with each other so that we have an open and authentic relationship that goes both ways. I don't believe in a sage on the stage kind of approach towards consulting. Yes, if I'm in a speaking engagement, I'm on the stage. You will still see me facilitate for participation by the audience to make them engaged in the learning, to provide active learning, and for me also to keep learning from them. It's a two-way street.
3 lenses to resistance. The first one is, I don't get it. Why do we need to change? The second factor is, I do not like this direction of change. And the third factor, not to forget, that people say, I don't like you.
I've seen leaders move from a stance where they interpreted resistance to organizational change as that of what my colleague Barney Tallet calls negative resistors, people who are just not aligned with the direction of travel, to recognizing that those same people might actually be in a stance of positive resistance, where they actually agree with the direction of travel, but they do not agree with how you as a leader are going about it.
If employees feel that the change signals that what they delivered for the organization and for program participants, for beneficiaries, for clients, is no longer of value, that is a critical mistake, because that causes grief, a sense of loss of a kind that is difficult to repair.
In our nonprofit and NGO sector, there tends to be a fairly significant gap between the espoused or aspired values and principles that we say we are all about, and the real in-use habits, practices, and behavior that I see staff and leaders exhibit. My perspectives, I think, are unique because I'm able to combine the fact that I grew up in Europe, have lived in the US now for over 20 years and have lived for extended periods in Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So that allows me to bring in frameworks, concepts, good practices from other parts of the world. The book is called Between Power and Irrelevance, The Future of Transnational NGOs, because we wanted to bring to leaders' attention that the relevance and power that these international nonprofits had for a couple of decades were now under question. And we wanted to write a book that is based on solid academic research, but also is married with 3 decades of practitioner observations by Barney Tellick and myself. I like to work with evidence-based and research-based frameworks, whether it's for leadership development, for change management, for organizational effectiveness. There are a couple of different ways of working with me. One is speaking engagements, where we can talk about the sector, what's happening, and how leaders may want to respond to that. Leadership development is an offer, so that either can be mid to senior level leadership training, can be executive coaching, leadership coaching, team coaching as well. I love to work with teams, particularly leadership teams. I can bring skills that have to do with how can we assess the overall organizational health of this particular nonprofit at this moment in time.